Brobbey. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chair.
My first question, these days, most of the employers are resorting to contract employment. You see workers who have been casuals for long years. They end up turning their casuals into contract employees. It is so disappointing when you see people find themselves in that category. As a lawyer, you are going to assist your minister. What are you going to do? What advice are you going to give your minister when such your attention because of this long contract work that we have in the country these days?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Indeed, this is what is happening. As a private person, not in public service, I came across most of the things like this. Whenever you question, it bordered on the kinds of remunerations and other things that go with employment. If the person is a contract staff, they tend to do away with certain things that comes with a full-time staff. So most employers prefer keeping people in the contract staff. It is not a good thing. And indeed, when such things come before us, I will liaise with my minister, and then we look at the appropriate agency that handles such issues, and we will refer such matters to them for appropriate action. Thank you.
Let me do a follow-up on this. There's the option of the right of the employer to decide that I want people to engage for 1 year. And then there's a law regulating employment generally. So it appears to me, because I've also observed that, particularly in the financial institutions, all they do now is pluck the young people straight from school, give them a contract for 1 year, and they release them. 1 year, they release them. I think it's an abuse of the employment rules of the country. So I want to engage you, a lawyer. At the same time, you're being an employer because you've worked in the private sector. How do you think we should go around this and ensure that the rules of employment are respected rather than the abuse of the young people in this country? This is happening because there's abundance and oversupply of labor. How do we use the laws of the land to protect them?
Thank you, Chair. Like I said, this is an issue that doesn't border on only the employees. The employers, on one hand, are also looking at their financial strength, and they do these kinds of things. In the ministry, there's a tripartite committee and other agencies that we can use. Since it is law, I am very sure that together with my minister and our directors, we will find a better way to sustainably bring this to an end so that we do not have such situations of uncertainty when people hold 1 year contract, 2 year contract. They do not know really what is up for them in the next year or two. And this should be done away with. So I'll work with the agencies and my minister to see how best we can resolve this. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, another very important issue at the enterprise level is the non-enforcement of health and safety practices at the workplace. You go to particularly the steel industries, you look at the kind of footwear, the uniforms, you go to the shop floor, the risk attached to this job is so high that Mr. Chairman, recently I had engagement between a local union executive and their general secretary, and the kind of cheating that is going on at the workplace. I respectfully want to find out, when you assume office, how you're going to assist your minister and come to my enclave in the industrial area in Tema, particularly the steel industries. They don't have a voice. They stand by the machine for 8 hours eating, no break. What are you going to do to assist the young men working in these industries and other ones that are not having the voice to make sure some of these things are corrected? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. What is happening, indeed, is that there's a law regulating safety in the workplace, and a department is put in place to oversee this, Department of Factories Inspectorate. Unfortunately, this department is very much ill-resourced. Talking to the staff at the ministry, I got to know that that is a major constraint. Indeed, even vehicle, for them to go around and inspect safety and other issues in the factories, have challenges. What is also happening is that some employers provide for safety and other things, but the usual practice with some Ghanaians is questionable. You get there and according to the director for the department, one time in a factory he got there, somebody, for instance, was not wearing boots and so on. He questioned, and the employer had provided the boots, but the employee had sold them. These are things that happen, but they would all be checked if they are resourced to go and do what they have to do. So once it came to my attention in the course of trying to know what's in the ministry, I will work with my minister so hard and ensure that at least we obtain just one vehicle for them to be able to do this. As it stands, it is problematic, and I share that very well. And as you said, we'll come to your enclave and probably bring innovations and get to some of you who can help us do the inspection and ensure workers are safe. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I want to find out the Labour Department, the whole building.
You're allowed to.
Oh, Chairman, I thought it's a plus.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable Patricia Page.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Honorable Wireko Brobbey.
Thank you,
Yes.
Honorable Chair.
I'd like to find out whether you know the group of workers that are called the domestic workers. And if you know, you will bear with me that these group of people are normally abused, especially the female ones. When they end up in the homes of individuals, they are normally abused. They are in the informal sector. Honorable, if given the nod, how can you assist your minister to streamline the engagement and the employment of these people in this sector? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is also an issue, when addressed, will, as it were, put smiles on the faces of most young women and men who otherwise do not have formal skills and could be engaged in the informal sector. Indeed, Honorable Chair, what is happening is that the work environment is regulated all the time by law. Unfortunately, the Labour Act 2003 does not really capture issues of domestic workers. But it's something we should all begin to think about, because these are people who wake up in the morning and they sleep sometimes 11, 12, wake up 3 a.m. again. And the Act also stipulates, I think under Section 33, that we work for 8 hours. And nobody is really talking about the plight of these workers. Talking to the ministry staff, there's already a legislation in place. They are planning a bill to bring to us. Fortunately, my minister and myself are all in the House. So once we draft it and put in measures to deal with these caliber of workers we find, the entire House should support us so that we have that bill sent through. The other thing which will be advantageous is that this is an area which will even generate income for Ghana if we streamline. Because once we streamline and they have contract of employment, they are paying their social security, they are paying taxes. These are things that, they are areas that will generate income for Mother Ghana. And I think that you have raised a very good point. And if the whole Ghana is watching, Honorable, you will be hailed for bringing this up. So I will work with my minister, as it were, and ensure we speedily bring the bill to the House and we see to pass it. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Honorable, once again, given the note, how are you going to assist your minister to enhance the college and ensure that we can produce a number of skilled labor to take care of our one district, one factory, and other employment needs in the country? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Are you talking of the Labor College at Atonsu Agogo? Yes. It's a pity we have such resources in the country, and we still cry that we do not have employment. Most people, when they complete school, want to go into white-collar jobs. And you know that nature as it is, people drop out at every stage. The fact that they drop out from JHS does not mean they are not capable of doing other things. Talking to the staff of the ministry, I realized that it is one area, that college, the labor college, cooperative, if we are able to resource that college and then have these youth who otherwise may not be able to proceed through the SHS and the universities to go and learn a trade and come out, I think this is where we can harness the potential of every individual. Thank God you have brought this to our attention. I think it's an area where we can easily even get funding from talking to our bilateral partners, so that they come in and help us revamp that college in particular. So I will have a keen interest and discuss that with my minister. And in the ministry, put together a proposal team so that we can touch base with potential funding agencies to come in and revamp it. Once done, I'm sure your constituents will be the first beneficiaries because they will not even be taking cars to go there. They may walk to the facility. So I'll do that in collaboration with my minister and the staff of the ministry. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Barbara, okay, then Honorable Samuel Kujato. Today you are available leaders, as many as you want to.
I have only 4 questions. Congratulations, Honorable. And
thank you, Chair.
Listening to you, it's clear that you have the passion for the job you are going to occupy, and you can count on our support. The first question I want you to respond to has to do with the issue of financial clearance, which comes up every now and then. there were a number of financial clearances that the previous government gave to certain category of workers. Nurses, about, my memory serves me right, about 30,000. Teachers, about 22,000. As for teachers, I have the exact figure, 22,802. But after the elections, there was a freeze on these financial clearances that the Ministry of Finance had issued. And you do know that last week the nurses demonstrated, still waiting for the freeze to be lifted so that they can be employed. The teachers, we also have not heard anything subsequently. Have you followed this matter? Have you followed this matter during your briefs preparing for this committee's appearance? And what do you say to those thousands of teachers and nurses who have graduated and are waiting to be employed?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. This is a matter that is not exclusively in the purview of the Employment Ministry. It's a collaborative subject, including Ministry of Finance and other stakeholders. And so my minister is on top of this issue. Indeed, we watched television where these young ones were picketing in the Ministry of Health and so on. It is not a desirable situation. So I'm sure my minister has already started discussions on that. Any role that he gives me, where he puts me on this subject matter to follow up and ensure it is done, I'm committing myself here that I will do it to the best of my ability. Thank you, Chair.
To those who argue that if government is constrained and cannot immediately foot the bills of all of these graduates we are training, nurses, teachers, we should reconsider the issue of giving limited resources now to them when they are in school as allowances, when you have the student loans available to serve needy students, so that you can save money to rather use as salaries, remuneration for them when they graduate. In other words, what is the point in paying them allowances and then when they graduate, you cannot absorb them into the system? What are your own views about this matter?
Indeed, I hold a strong view that we have to resource these people even when they are in school. So the issue of the fact that we should reserve that money does not arise with me. I share in the vision of my party on that. And I have seen practically what this resource could do to some of them. Indeed, I had a mate when we completed sixth form who had 3 A's. And he had to go to Legon to read law. He was the best student amongst us. Then he told me that, right, I cannot go because I cannot pay the fees, but I would want to go to training college and then use that as an avenue to project myself. Today he's a lawyer anyway, but he went through that, got some money while in school, could pay little expenses here and there. So that resource does not only help them, but it also incentivizes them, because when they eventually come out, we still even have a very huge deficit in the education and the medical sectors. And so we must encourage people to go there and have them. I am sure that this is a new administration, and we are looking into all those things. It is not within my purview, but the finance ministry and my minister, the employment and so on, will work this out and make sure we clear everybody and absorb everybody and create jobs in the process. Thank you, Chair.
Clearly had no interest in being a teacher, but just because of money that he could make, decided to use that route, went to get the allowances only to use it to become a lawyer, and abandon the profession. Is that not the reason why we should really take a second look at these wholesale allowances, which has clearly, as you have said, become an avenue for people who don't even have the passion to teach, wanting to just make money using that route? Your own friend's example.
Thank you, Chair. Even myself, at a point, I got in transit with so many professions. I had to teach for some time during my national service, proceed to do some test, proceed. So as human beings, the sky should be your limit. Even those in the teaching profession are now, most of them are taking advantage of distance and progressing that they want to even be somewhere else. So that in itself is not bad. But remember that he became a teacher also for some time and contributed his quota. Thank you, Chair.
Let's come to the issue of the treatment that expatriates are meting out to Ghanaian workers. Your ministry has a unit that is expected to be carrying out inspections and making sure that Ghanaian workers are being treated according to the labor laws, are being respected, their rights are being respected and valued. We know of the Mawako incidents. There was the other incident in Takoradi where an expatriate chained a Ghanaian worker to a tree for many hours, treated him like an animal because he said he was idling about during work hours. That was his only crime. And there are many of this. There are many that do not even come to the fore, that are not reported by the media. Some are afraid that if they even come forward and report it, they will lose their jobs. How can we expect you to get that unit of your ministry to be proactive, to go around, carry out surprise visits, and to also empower our workers, Ghanaian workers, so that expatriates do not just take them for granted and take it out on them in terms of racial abuse and violation of their rights and all of that?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. It would surprise you to know that a lot of legislation is around these issues of work and so on. And the gaps that I have just heard from interacting with staff of the ministry is that of domestic workers, which you rightly talk about. Fortunately, the bill has even been drafted to a very large extent, and I was even told the last cabinet was supposed to have looked at it and brought it to our attention and so on, and it did not happen. So I have answered earlier that together with my minister, we will do all we can, and because both of us are coming from the House, we will talk to all of us here for us to speedily look at it. The other leg is the resource. Indeed, the agencies, when I met them and interacting with them, the major constraint is resources. And so we will do our best to liaise with the appropriate minister to get resources for these agencies which are working under us and to be able to let them carry out their mandate and forestall some of these unfortunate situations that happen to our young boys and girls who find themselves in such jobs.
Honorable nominee, I'll also suggest to you that if you can consider putting up a hotline or some contact point, if it's an email address that workers who are going through injustice can report. They can leave out their names, those who fear victimization. You can create an opportunity for them to leave out their identity so that they can contact your ministry. I think that if we intensify education in this area, it will really help. Finally, I want to pick your thoughts on the issue of paternal and maternal leave. Some countries are extending maternal leave now beyond 3 months. Some are even looking at 5 months. Some have done 6 months. What are your views? Women workers want an extension, and good dads also want to be given the opportunity to also support their wives because the babies also need daddy to be around. What are your views on this subject matter, and how do you intend to assist your minister to probably initiate some review of the existing practice?
Well, this is a global issue, and we have signed on to the ILO convention that has this issue also as something that we need to do. Personally, I am for it that we look at a little bit of extension for the women, because the 3 months, they have different circumstances. Some go through delivery without any hitches. Some have to be operated upon and so on. So if you give that blanket 3 months, some of them wouldn't even have recovered within the 3 months period. So I have a personal interest that as a country we look at it. But when the bill comes to us in Parliament, I'm sure you will be there, I'll be there. Let's look at how we can engage ourselves and help our mothers. Thank you.
There was a second part of the question. How about the men? How about the fathers?
That's another thing. Let's sit in the house and talk about it.
I think the jury is still out on the men. When the jury returns with the verdict, we'll consider that.